Hey guys, MC Mura here, and it is a patch day for Street Fighter 6. It is December the 16th, and Capcom just put out an update for Street Fighter 6 that it does have some balance changes for like 3 characters mainly. And it also brings with it some quality of life updates. But before I go to talk about the balance patch itself, what actually changed, I do want to talk about the update when it comes to like the battle HUD design, right? Because recently I made a video where I talked about how with each version of Street Fighter, Capcom would be iterative. They would put out like multiple versions. They would update the HUD, they would update the character select screen and all of that. And they kind of sort of did this with Street Fighter 6, but the issue with that is how they decided to monetize it. So we all thought this was kind of cool, but then Capcom comes out and say, nah, these are $5 each. And I mean, I guess we should be grateful, right? Because 250 fighter coins is exactly $5. It's not... That's just sad. So I honestly thought that this was kind of cool, but $5 for something like this is actually kind of insane, especially since it doesn't feel good with actual art style. Like, it doesn't feel coherent. It doesn't look that clean. Like, they're trying to play on your nostalgia, but $5 for one of these that's a steal. I'm sorry. I thought maybe they're gonna do it like how they did the jukebox, where you could buy it with the fight money, or with like the drive tickets, in-game currency, or real-life dollars. So like I really liked some of the Street Fighter 4 tracks. I really liked some of the Street Fighter 5 tracks. So like I bought them. But real-life money only for that is just crazy. Should I be surprised, given that this is a company that is charging for Capcom Cup pay-per-view? I honestly don't know. But I am incredibly disappointed. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this is incredibly disappointing. Like, finally they add something into the game. Finally, maybe we're getting something cool, but nah. Anyways, so let's talk about the actual changes. And obviously Sagat is probably him and Elena got pretty cool buffs, and Mai got slight nerfs, although it's like taps on the wrists, nothing that major. Let's talk actually about the Sagat buffs. So Sagat was a character that is, I think he's a little bit divisive. Some players think he's really good, others think he's not all that. But I think the general sentiment when it comes to Sagat is that his zoning wasn't that great, but Sagat up close pressure was actually like really good, right? Once he was up close, once he's in your face, Sagat was really threatening because of standing medium punch primarily, 6 frames, +2, etc. So the general sentiment was, in matches where Sagat is kind of forced to throw light punch fireballs, he wasn't that great. But how Capcom decided to tackle Sagat? Well, they made him scarier up close, and the idea is they went and buffed his lows. Let's discuss. So the first change they did is a change to his crouching light kick, where now this leaves Sagat closer on hit and on block, right? So now like you can do 2 of them into light punch, into tiger uppercut, which is really cool. You can get a combo like one thing I tested is that this actually doesn't work. Like, pretty sure they can walk out. Let's actually record Terry trying to backwalk. Because if that does work, that would be actually crazy, given that Sagat standing medium punch is suffocating, but yeah, this still doesn't work. Maybe that would have been too much. But yeah, that low check is still not that insanely rewarding, but at least like off of drive rush, you're gonna be able to do it for sure, right? I'm not sure what was the situation. Probably he was still able to actually, but I don't know, but you're gonna have too much frame advantage as well. Maybe you could micro walk into it. But yeah, it's a buff. He's left a little bit closer now, which, you know what, that actually is a decent buff for him. So the second buff is to his crouching medium kick. And his crouching medium kick is now +5 on hit instead of +4, right? And this is decently substantial, because this move was a really good poke, but Sagat had an issue where people were able to backwalk out of his pressure. At +4, you were able to convert out of this because it comboed into his crouching jab. So it's like you could get stuff like that, which is not bad, but his crouching jab was kind of stubby. So this like didn't really work from all ranges. Like you had to be really close for it to work. See, like stuff like that it would cut out with. But at a +5, it now combos into his standing jab, which have a little more, actually a lot more range than crouching. So now he got crouching medium kick, bam, into uppercut, which is actually really cool, right? That's a really substantial change for him. So now this move is threatening from a further range, much further range actually than it used to, which should help with his pressure. Actually, if the opponent decided to backwalk again immediately after standing medium punch, this still doesn't work. Do we have any delay? Let's make him do that. Still doesn't work. Maybe you're gonna have to micro walk a little bit into it. But yeah, but if you're doing that, because that is like 9 frames and this is only +2, so you're leaving like a big gap on the table. But that now is a much better set. This is something that he definitely were not gonna be able to do in the prior batch. But if you're going for it immediately, that's still not gonna work, right? And Terry is not even like the fastest backwalking character, but I imagine against some of the slower characters, this could work immediately. We're gonna have to test it, but substantially better low shake. Where this gets significantly improved is in the footsies though, because now it's +7 on counter hit. And his standing light kick is 7 frames. So take a look, like mad for crouching medium kick counter hit, he now gets combos. That's actually insanely far. For like a crouching medium kick counter hit confirm, this is insanely far, right? So that is actually great. Obviously, if you're a little bit up closer, you can get a crouching medium punch, which again is also gonna be very substantial, but this is a huge buff because this move have a very powerful hitbox hurtbox, right? It's 9 frame startup, it's not super slow, but it's very goodly disjointed, it's very disjointed, so that's actually really great for him. And if you happen to get the counter hit on a drive rush, at least on the first active frame, it's gonna be +11, and this means that it combos into his crouching heavy punch as well. Right, so that actually is huge. Bam. I'm not sure what works here. If you got the heavy punch, then you get just the uppercut. Yeah, that's crazy. That's really good. Prior, it would leave him at a +10, which means that you had to get like the first hit of the standing heavy kick, which again you have to be like relatively close for, but now from a distance, this work, which is really good. This just made his crouching medium kick a lot more, because Sagat would do that, but it's 18 frames, so it's a little bit slower, so people would try to interrupt. But now he made his his crouching medium kick a lot more rewarding, and obviously he does have the Jinrai to stop his momentum as well. That's scary. Not gonna lie, that's a little bit scary. Next up, they buffed his back heavy punch, where this is double hitting, and they pretty much added an extra active frame for the first hit. I am not sure what will this change exactly. I'm not sure what changes will that do. Maybe it's gonna improve his anti-airs, although I doubt it. Maybe it's gonna be like a little bit better, not sure. I do know that Sagat actually have new combos that work now that didn't used to work prior, but I'm not sure if it's because of that as well. Like I think you need a big body, but let me actually show you the combo I'm talking about. Let's pick Honda. Honda is a fat boy, so we can get to show this combo. So what you would do prior with Sagat was something like this, right? This is what most Sagat players was doing, which is like 3k. Let me actually remove the counter hit. Even with the counter hit, this is like 3k. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? But now he gets something like this. Bam! Mid-screen, which is actually kind of insane. And that is like 3.5k. That's really good. That's a lot more damage. Now, is this because of the back heavy punch change? I'm not sure, because it seems like I was hitting him on the second hit. But yeah, that's a pretty cool change for Sagato. Now, Capcom also did change his uppercut, the charged version specifically. So Sagat charged uppercut, you could charge it, and if you got the hit on the first hit, like the early hits, this initial hit does like 1800, as you saw. But if you got it like later on, like say that he's jumping, I'm gonna try to hit him when he's really high upwards. I don't want to trigger the cinematic. So it's kind of hard not to trigger the cinematic, but oh boy. Yeah, something like this. It would do like 1700. That is if you hit it later than the fourth active frame. So what they did is, now if you happen to hit it at the third active frame, you're still getting 1800. So they pretty much increased the grace window. Like now it's a little bit more graceful in how you can land it, and I assume this is to make like really high juggles like that work a little bit more consistent. Added some hit stop and stuff like that, so that this cancel into like the level 3 is a little bit easier, right? I think this is more of like a consistency, quality of life change, and making sure that up to the third active frame you are still getting like the 1800 full damage, which that is actually really cool, right? They also buffed his, quote-unquote buffed his heavy tiger knee, and this is just a consistency change, so that if you didn't get the spin in some juggle situations, like if you didn't get the spin, the second hit would still connect, so that's actually pretty cool. Now let's talk about the substantial change, probably the most substantial change with this patch, and I'm gonna bring in someone else. Let's actually bring in our boy Terry. And this actually is a substantial change, and I want to test it on like standard character, right? So what Capcom did is that they actually Terry might be a little bit cracked. We'll see. This is actually interesting. So pretty much Capcom increased the forward movement on his light and the medium tiger Genrai, that initial knee. And because of it, Sagat now gets like three light normals into Tiger Genrai, and this now combos. And I'm pretty sure he was not able to do that before, but now he does, which, you know what, that's actually crazy, because this is a really good corner carry. Prior, Sagat had to do that into uppercut if you got like 3 lights, which obviously isn't great Oki, but now 3 lights into Tiger Genrai, medium kick Tiger knee, and you got them to the corner. That is actually really good. But here's the thing, Tiger Genrai, especially against characters like Mai and others that didn't have like great 5-frame normals, Sagat was able to kind of cheese them with it, and even against others, like there were ranges where you'd be able to do the first hit, like get the first hit to whiff, if they're like mashing parry. You know how Ryu will do like Hashogeki to bait the parry? Let's actually make him parry everything. Like that, right? He now moves forward more. So because he moves forward more, the combos are more consistent, but it's gonna be harder to get to that situation. Right? I can only do it now from the crouching heavy punch. Maybe if they're crouching and maybe against like some specific characters, you can still get that. Yeah, but I think this is now gonna be a little bit harder to do, and obviously he moves closer, he's -5, so he's a little bit more susceptible to being punished, but this still obviously does have like a great built-in mix, because say that Terry is blocking, if he tries to take back his turn immediately after a jab, he can get like punish countered. And I think the range for that is like if we made him block like 3 moves specifically. See, like that is like just auto-spaced, auto-timed, so that is really cool. But the issue with a sequence like that is if he breaks like his crouching medium, he actually can win. But then Sagat will delay, and then obviously gets a launch. So there is a mix here, right? There is a mix here. It's an interesting mix, but yeah. I actually think that's very interesting. This is sort of a birth where obviously the advantage on hit and getting the combos is huge, but especially after watching Blaz and seeing how he abused that move in Street Fighter League, I'm very interested to see how it will play out for him. The mix-up is still insane, and having the ability to bait parries with it was like really big as well. But yeah, that's actually really interesting. They also changed his the light follow-up, the overhit, where now there is a little bit more pushback on hit, which like it should be a little bit further, but also they're saying that the blowback, how they fly up, is increased, but then like you just saw him getting the combos, so I'm not really sure what's up with this change. I want to need like a Sagat expert to tell me like what this actually means for the character. Next up is a small buff, small nerf actually, and that is to the medium follow-up. This one where now the chip damage, the drive chip damage is a little bit reduced, which, I mean, that's fine. I don't think that's that big of a deal, right? Sagat already have insane chip pressure. This is like the greedy tiger. It's even called greedy tiger because it leaves you at +4, your point blank. Now he have even more threatening lows. Obviously the mix is you go for the overhead, but your blocking stand, so the stand up, the blocks is +4, lost a lot of drive. So yeah, that's cool. And they also buffed the heavy kick follow-up, where now this leaves Sagat closer at a +2 advantage in throw range. So that is actually kind of crazy. Overall, I mean, he got some pretty cool buffs. Well, let's now talk about Elena. And Elena got two small changes pretty much, but I think they are actually pretty substantial. The first one, for me, that's like a buff fix. They pretty much increased like the consistency on that and like the OD version. So now like it is less likely that the follow-ups would whiff, and I mean that's cool. That is something that you would expect. But Elena actually got one really cool change. So the first one is a buff to that, where now this does give her a little bit more super art gauge. Let's actually make it at a 2 standard. So she got a fair bit more on that, and this is one of these moves that you could use as a poke. So that actually is a pretty decent change for it. It's not that substantial, but it's really cool. The really substantial one is the change to this move, which is like the cartwheel that is that usually like you would do for frame traps. Say let's make him block under the first hit, which like you would do that. It's this one, right? So the change here is that Elena is left closer, and this one is really big. Because Elena is left closer, she now gets a crouching light kick, crouching light punch follow-up, which she didn't used to be able to do. So say that we're gonna make Terry block and do nothing. Now this actually does connect, which is really big because this was one of the main issues with Elena. She was always left out of range where she's gonna able to like really check you low, and it's only +1, so like people would mash anyway and you have to micro walk to chase them. But yeah, this is a huge buff to Elena. I think this is a huge buff to Elena, and they changed it to the corner as well, so it's like just consistent across the board, right? That is really cool. I think this change is gonna be very substantial. It's still like a +1 only, and this is like a 5-frame low, so it's not like the end of the world. Like you can still kind of mash, and mashing would beat the low, mashing would beat mashing still would beat like the low, it would still beat the throw, so it's not the crazy, it's not the end of the world, but that actually is a pretty cool one. They also buffed her level 1, and this one is actually really cool. They buffed her level 1 so that it is 7-frame startup, and I'm pretty sure this used to be 9. Now it's 7-frame startup, and she does build a little bit more meter when she does it. So like if you happen to commit to the follow-up, say I did like an uppercut, which typically you do, she's getting a little bit more meter. Now this is really cool because this opens the door for some new combos for her. And like for example, like Briar, you would do that, right? Which is a side switch, but you're not getting something that great. Now you can do the side switch. This now combos, this didn't used to combo before, get the dash, you are plus, you got the side switch, so that is very substantial. I'm pretty sure there will be like other combos as well that maybe didn't used to work prior, but now they do, which is really cool. Like, I love seeing stuff like that. Being faster is really important, and obviously just being 7 frames means that this move is easier to use as an anti-air. It already was like a very potentially rewarding anti-air if you happen to got the hit, but it was 9 frames, which is slow, right? Especially when you got like 5, 6, 7 frame uppercuts, it was kind of hard to justify using it. But I feel like this target combo, like the combo I just showed you, this one is big. That is actually really big, because on a counter hit, like if you counter hit jab combos into that, right? So that is realistic. Like, this is the best use I found, but this seems very realistically hittable to me, right? Which is really, really cool. It's not gigantic, ginormous changes for Elena, but they are substantial enough, and I feel like especially like on the lower levels, the mix-up with the cartwheel after the spin, this one actually is like really, really, really cool. So overall, decent buffs for Elena. Alright, so let's now talk about the balance changes for Mai in this patch, which are not that substantial, but I mean, they're whatever. So the first change, I can't lie, these changes will pretty much do nothing, but the first change is to her standing heavy punch, where this used to deal half a tick of a drive, so 2 of them, and they would deplete a bar. Now it does about 40% of a bar, and this normal obviously is extremely abusable because Mai can just do stuff like that. And pretty much the entire point of this patch is that you're not losing as much drive when you're fighting Mai, right? Drive gauge, right? You're not losing as much drive gauge, so heavy punch, you're not losing as much, right? And kind of the same deal with the fans. There are a bunch of changes to regular, OD, HUD version, pretty much all of them. Whenever you are parrying them, you are gaining more drive gauge overall, which I don't think this was the issue. It's pretty much the issue is that this pretty much forces like I'm in your face now. This is pretty much like the greatest neutral skip in the game. That was the issue, but you're not losing as much drive if you try to parry, right? And you're even getting more if you happen to perfect parry, which that's kind of cool. The substantial change with Mai comes in the form of the throw situation, where they pretty much gave her like the Terry throw loop, where you can't forward dash and then back walk for shimmy. Like, if the opponent happened to wake up with a grab, you are still gonna get thrown, and if they woke up while mashing, you can't really like walk forward and grab them, right? I think this work on like fat bodies, but I'm pretty sure you don't get a forward walk into a throw. Or maybe it's like 1 frame only, but as you can see, it's like really difficult. So this is very much mirrors like the Terry throw loop now. Obviously, if you happen to like try to backdash for the shimmy, that still works, right? And she's gonna be +9, so what is 9 frames? That is her heavy punch. So I think you can still do that, and you're getting like the punish counter, so it's not the end of the world. But obviously, if they try to wake up with a jab, because you are backdashing, you're kind of committing. Terry is still the best character, one of the best characters in the game, and he has this. That's not that substantial, and she is still plus. Like, make no mistake, the forward throw loop is still there. If we got her to wake up with a crouching jab, she still dashes up and grabbing you. That's still in here. That didn't change. It is just that if she's trying to shimmy, she have to commit to a backdash, right? Which fair. I think that's fair. I honestly think that's fair, given how easily Mai can get you to the corner because of her neutral skips. I think that is fair overall. The patch didn't change much. I'm gonna be real. If you're playing Sagat, cool change. If you're playing Elena, cool change. I had hoped that Viper would get something, but maybe later, we'll see. But yeah, it doesn't change that much. And that's pretty much about it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like or a comment. It helps the channel so much. I will be leaving a link to the Patreon, Discord, Twitter, and Twitch pages in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and stay safe.